Hello everybody, my name is Karryshh and welcome back to another recap video. This time it's a Korean horror movie named My Stranger. It was a big hit and most of you probably don't even know about this one, but for a found footage film with a low budget, I really like this one. It wasn't even that long either. I think you might enjoy this one, so watch the video till end. On top of that, if you're new here, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. This is the only way I'll be able to make more of these videos. Now sit back and relax as I recap My Stranger. So the movie begins in 1994 and we get to find out about famous comedian Yoon, and he's actually a real comedian in Korea. In 1994, some weird things happen at his house. In a video, we see Yoon's place and then a 14-year-old Yoon. At that age, Yoon began acting strangely. He used to turn on a camera and sits in front of it for a very long time. His family was worried for him too. We see some photos of Yoon from his childhood to the age of 14. When the paranormal activities began, he used to wave around and move his body in front of the camera in a really strange way. Now they show us an interview of his mother who tells us that Yoon was a normal kid and she still doesn't understand why he began acting like that. Even there was also a time when Yoon told her mother that he doesn't want to act like that but has no other choice. Now in a video of Yoon, he was once again doing strange stuff, but at the same time, a shadow was captured in the room behind him. There was something strange in that house which affected Yoon. Then we meet Kim, Yoon's childhood friend, and he tells in an interview that Yoon became very silent when he turned 14. One time Kim went to visit Yoon, but he finds Yoon pacing here and there with no particular reason, and then he started laughing hysterically. Since that, Yoon had trouble sleeping till this day, and he hears strange sounds at night. He also used to record himself saying that no one should fear anything because fear is just an illusion made by our minds. Now in present, Yoon's a successful comedian. However, something happened to him in his house a few nights ago, and that's why Yoon rented a place so he can stay away from his family for a while and record if something's wrong with him. He comes to that place and meets with the contractor who showed him around the house before leaving. Yoon then installed camera all around the house, and then after a while, a man named Woo Lee arrived there. Woo Lee is a dear friend of Yoon and he's also a comedian, and he's gonna stay with him to make sure everything's okay. Woo Lee checks the house and the cameras, but soon the two smells a really hard smell of something burning. They checked around but they weren't able to figure out the source of that smell. That night, Yoon and Woo Lee had dinner. They talk about their lives and catch up on everything. Yoon tells Woo Lee that a few nights ago, the phenomena where he hears voices at night intensified. One night, Yoon begins screaming, which scared his wife, and that's why he rented this place before anything bad happens. Woo Lee promises that he'll stay together with Yoon, and then the two men fall asleep, totally intoxicated. A little back in the past, we see Yoon who was living with his family, when one night he hears something. He followed the sound to his son's bedroom, but there he found nothing. Then the sound came from inside the bathroom and he checked that too, but again there was nothing, which was strange. In present, Yoon turns on the night vision of the cameras and then began the first night. That entire night, we heard knocking sounds and those sounds stopped around 5 a.m. The next morning, Yoon makes Woo Lee drinks vodka instead of water and the two have breakfast. The day was pretty normal and nothing really happens at night either. But then the third night, Yoon comes home late at night and he attends some strange sounds. Now afterwards, when Yoon was sleeping, an invisible force opens his door and the chandelier in the living room moves violently. The commotion wakes Yoon up and he turns on his camera and goes to investigate. He checks the kitchen but no one was there, but something was making weird noise in the little storage room behind the kitchen. Suddenly the door to the storage room opens on its own, startling Yoon. He instantly goes to check it out, but inside he finds nothing. Yoon retrieves and then the next day, Yoon was drowsy since he hadn't slept properly last night. Wooly, on the other hand, slept soundly and he did not hear any sound last night. That day, Wooly and Yoon go to Yoon's psychiatrist Yang. Yoon tells Yang all his problems and Yang ends up putting him on therapy and gave him some pills. According to Yang, whatever happened was because Yoon is under a lot of work pressure. Then begins the fourth night. And this time the house was echoed with the banging of someone jumping on the first floor. We see a curtain that was hung on the stairs moving on its own, and then the thumping noise continued, which wakes Yoon up. Yoon turns his camera on and go to investigate upstairs, but as he reaches upstairs, the sound vanished. He searches the entire first floor but finds nothing, and then suddenly someone runs from behind him towards the balcony and he instantly runs after it, but that thing disappeared. When Yoon finally gives up and go back to bed, the noise continues and then something opens his room's door again, and this time a shadow enters in the room. Something was staring at Yoon, but then it disappears. However, this video is later checked by the production team and they discovered a really creepy demonic whispering just when the shadow enters the room. Next day, Yoon and Wooly were shocked after finding books littering around their living room. Then they checked the CCTV footage and saw that an invisible force knocks those books off the shelf last night. Seeing that, Wooly believes that Yoon is haunted. Then suddenly, the two notice a door that was leading under the stairs. It was open and they had no clue that this door exists. The two go and Yoon closes the door, but then the door locks itself, which was strange. Now that day, Yoon was on a shoot and he was live on Instagram and suddenly the lights of his set go out, which never happened before. Yoon's audience was able to hear a creepy whispering near Yoon before the live ended. Now we witness the seventh night and around 3 a.m. the door below the stairs opens by itself. Then an evil shadow enters Yoon's room whispering something demonic and getting over Yoon's body. Yoon started having a bad dream because of it and then he screamed and jolted awake. He experienced headache and then the chair in the room slides on its own, scaring Yoon even more. Yoon screams and calls Wooly, and Wooly comes there in a rush. Wooly turns the lights on, but suddenly, the mirror in the room exploded, shivering their spines. Next day, Yoon and Wooly searches about poltergeist. We also find out the meaning of poltergeist, which is related to a phenomena where a ghost moves stuffs around the house without any discretion. There are 5 levels of poltergeist, and in the final level, the spirit may possess a person and show signs of aggression. However, most poltergeists end on their own except during those times when the spirit is an evil one. Yoon and Wooly were advised by the internet to call a medium before it's too late, and then they find about an ancient time book in which it was written that once a king experienced poltergeist in his castle, and actually this part of this movie is real about the book and the king and his experience and all. Now the situation was pretty bad, so the two called a shaman who will visit the next day, and then begins the 8th night. Tonight, Wooly sleeps in Yoon's room, and then around 2:30 a.m. the door opens by itself. Suddenly, Yoon sits upright, but he was still asleep. He started sleepwalking and went outside the room and then outside the apartment. Few hours later, a call buzzes and Wooly wakes up. Wooly picks up the phone and it was Yoon who found himself miles away from the house after he woke up. Wooly went and fetched Yoon back home and both men were pretty confused. The next day, the two talks about this, but Yoon had no memory of how he went outside the house. Yesterday night, Yoon was captured sleepwalking in multiple street cameras and was really creepy. That evening, the shaman arrives and her name was Lim. Lim and her two acolytes comes and soon Lim begins to feel a strange energy in this house. She then observed Yu's body and then she declared that the spirit is not haunting the house but it's haunting Yoon instead. According to Lim, the spirit has nestled itself inside Yoon's body since he was 14. It was the spirit of a man and it likes to play with Yoon and the people around him. The spirit has now taken over Yoon's mind and that was why Lim organized a ritual. In that ritual, Lim hovers a red flag over Yoon's body and then she chants some spell, but then suddenly Yoon starts to scream and shake as if he's having a seizure. The others held down Yoon as the ritual continues, which goes on for a while. Lim tries to talk with the spirit inside of Yoon, but Yoon keeps on throwing up. In the end, Lim draws some talismans and she told the two men to paste these on the top of their doors, which will stop the spirit from possessing Yoon. Lim then tells them that she will visit again and then begins the 9th night, and Yoon was worried if the ritual will work or not. However, 9th night goes by and nothing happens. Next day, the two did breakfast shockingly without any stress and Yoon reveals that he didn't dream of anything bad either. Their ritual worked and then for the next 3 days nothing happened to him. Their lives come back to normal, meaning the talismans were working and the spirit was having a hard time entering the house. But for how long? During the 13th night, the two men were drinking in the living room and then they fall asleep there. All the lights were left powered on and we noticed that the talismans are no longer there where they should be. Then at around 4 a.m., an invisible force pulls Yoon's leg 2 times before it made him fall off the couch. Yoon wakes up and he attends some creepy noise from the space below the stairs. Scared, Yoon wakes up Wooly and the two goes to investigate, but suddenly the door below the stairs shuts itself in front of him. Then they notice that someone tore the talisman and that was why the paranormal stuff began happening again. However, there was more to this incident. While checking the CCTV, the two men find out that it was Yoon himself who sleepwalked last night and tore the talisman before going back to sleep. The next day, Yoon calls Lim, but Lim can't visit because she's out of town. However, Yoon knew an old trick and he goes and wraps 3 knives in a newspaper and put them under his pillow before bed. Because there's a saying that knives repel evil dreams. Then begins the 14th night and once again someone opens the door to Yoon's room. Yoon sat upright in his sleep and then got on his feet. Only this time he cracks his neck like a maniac before going out of the room. Next day, Wooly wakes up and discovers that Yoon is missing. He looks around the house but Yoon was not there. Then he notices the door below the stair is open and then we find out that there's an entire basement there. Obviously, Wooly goes to investigate the abandoned basement and there inside a dark room, he finds Yoon sleeping. Wooly wakes up Yoon, takes him out but then he fell ill. The entire day, Yoon denies to go to a hospital and Wooly finds several bruises on Yoon's body. Wooly calls in a doctor but the doctor just concludes a normal fever and nothing more and then begins the 15th night. Now around 3 a.m. Yoon gets up in his sleep and the evil spirit takes him in the living room where the basement's door opens on its own. Yoon starts swaying his body while standing there and we hear demonic whisperings around him. Suddenly, Yoon wakes up and when he finds himself standing there, he runs back towards his bedroom. But then, the evil spirit grabs his leg and makes him trip. It then drags Yoon into the basement and he screams as the door shuts itself. Hearing Yoon scream, Wooly wakes up and then he goes to save Yoon with his camera inside the basement. Now as Wooly steps in, the door behind him slammed itself shut. Wooly screams and tries to escape but the door was then locked and he was stuck inside. Wooly had to go downstairs when he attends creepy voices and then suddenly his night vision turned off. Wooly ran away frantically, screaming until his camera light returns. Then Wooly heard Yoon's voice and he followed that voice in that same dark room where he found Yoon standing in a corner, whispering like a ghost. However, Wooly wasn't a fool and he did not approach him. He turned and decided to escape, but he couldn't, cause Yoon took his name from just behind him. When Wooly turned, Yoon was not where he was before, and then suddenly a possessed Yoon attacked on Wooly. The camera falls as we witness Yoon leaving the basement, but after this night, the comedian Wooly disappeared forever. Now in written form, we were informed that Yoon went missing the next morning. However, 12 hours later, a woman called the cops and told them that the comedian Yoon is lying in front of her door. The cops obviously didn't believe, but when they arrived at the woman's place, they certainly did find Yoon sleeping in front of the woman's door. Yoon was taken away by the cops, but when he woke up, he had no clue what happened last night. Now we see an interview of the shaman, and she concludes that Yoon had unintentionally housed that spirit inside of him. He is the spirit's master as well as the spirit's medium. He did that because he feels lonely, and the spirit helps with his loneliness, but Yoon himself is not aware of this thing, and that was why the spirit is using him. Now another interview with Yoon's friend Kim and his mother, and the two talks about hauntings from the past. The mother tells that Yoon once made a video of him talking about a stranger while demonic whispering is heard around him. We then see that video where Yoon talks in the camera about a strange man who lives inside of his body. That man feeds on him like a parasite, but sometimes Yoon enjoys the mad company, and that's why the movie is named My Stranger. With this video, the movie ends, but I wanna tell you that this is a fake documentary movie and nothing like this really happened to the actual comedian Yoon in Korea. However, comment below your thoughts. So this was the recap video on the movie My Stranger, and I hope you have liked it. If you have, then please subscribe the channel, like this video. I really need your support to grow further. If you wanna watch this movie, there's a link to my Telegram channel where I share movie links every now and then if they're available. So go and subscribe there. I'm mostly active on Insta, so you can follow me there as well. And look into my other channel where we discuss about the mysteries of the world. All the links are in the description box. For now, I'll see you all in the next one. Till then, stay awake, cause they always see you.